Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Today it's something completely different. It's about automotive photography. Some of you guys may or may not know, but before I still love, actually I still love, but I used to be really involved into taking photos of vehicles, cars, motorcycles, all that kind of stuff. It's just a passion. I love cars, and why not mix that with photography as well? So in the past I have done big photo shoots for some clients that, you know, they really want to highlight their beautiful cars, their luxurious cars, and they hired me to take photos of it. Or sometimes if I see an actual vehicle out there, you know, and I really want it just for myself, I'll go and talk to the person and see if they'd be open to allowing me to shoot it. But the approach that I like to take when I'm shooting these cars, and I've done it all, I've done, you know, the natural daylight, I've done the, you know, using flash and, you know, adding pops of light here and there. But at the end of the day, the approach I like the best is the actual light painting method, which is, you know, kind of walking with your light source and adding the streaks of lines and light onto the vehicle, you know, accenting the body lines and contours and shape of the vehicle, and just creating a cool mood, almost like as if, you know, you had a studio and you had a big softbox above that's just lighting down on the vehicle and getting that, you know, that look, that commercial look. But it's a different approach. This is me walking around the vehicle with me hand holding a hot light and shining the light onto the car, motorcycle, whatever it is, and getting individual frames that I can take back into Photoshop and slowly build the layer up, build the image up to my final image that I have in my mind that I think looks good for the vehicle. You know, there's a lot of pushing and pulling as far as, you know, getting that nice streak of lines, you know, like there's no science to it. There's a little bit of like trial and error, but once you get it and you kind of understand, you know, your camera settings, how to walk with the light, how to not be in the shot, how to not, you know, overlay yourself in the light, you know, all that kind of stuff. Once you kind of get that down, then it's fun, and you just kind of get to create, add light to the different areas of the vehicle, knowing that this is also that you can edit later back in post, and then finally, once you're back in Photoshop and Lightroom, building it all up to the final image that you're happy with. Many times you guys have heard me use the word light painting before. I use that in my commercial work, right? For my architectural, interior design type of photography, even real estate, things like that. But we're doing it a little bit different this time, using that same approach with lighting and adding light to our vehicle instead of it being a space or a home, just a different subject, but we're still adding light. We're still adding directionality. We're giving it a different vibe, a different move with our own supplemental lighting, and then bringing it back into Lightroom and Photoshop to build it up to our final image that we have envisioned in our head. So the star of the show today is my actual personal vehicle. It's the BMW X5M. I had purchased this a while back, and at the time, I wanted to do a nice photo shoot for it. To me, when I saw this vehicle, I was like, oh my God, I love the blue. I love the body contours, the rims, everything. And I just wanted to do a gorgeous photo shoot of it so I can have it for myself. And I'm sure for many of you out there who are into cars, you know what I'm talking about. You love to take pride and joy into your own vehicle, so why not photograph it and create a memory for yourself that you can keep forever. Now, when it comes to actually doing a shoot for a vehicle, whether it's a car, motorcycle, whatever, once that is the project in mind that I have to do for myself or for a client, the first thing I'm thinking about is location. So I'm like looking everywhere. I'm researching on Google Maps. I'm going through my mental archive of just different places that I've seen in my city that can potentially work for this. Now, being the fact that this is light painting, I want a place that it's not going to add light to the vehicle, because I want the vehicle completely dark and black. Like I want the only light being added to the vehicle, my lighting that I'm introducing into the scene. So I don't want it to be in a space, even though it's nighttime, that's adding a bunch of light onto it. Like it could be out in the street, but you know, I don't want to be underneath a light pole or something. You know, I want to make sure that the vehicle itself is dark. So that's one. And as far as location goes, you know, someplace nice, like in Las Vegas, I can think about, you know, maybe I want to show off Las Vegas Strip in the background, or maybe just the whole valley, maybe finding a high location up top that the vehicle can sit and the valley is underneath you, right? And it's not distracting. Or maybe it could be something more moodier and more cinematic, maybe like in a forest or something, right? We got trees, surrounded by trees. So not only are you lighting the vehicle, maybe you're lighting the forest too, and kind of creating a different kind of vibe and stuff. I've seen parking garages work, either on the roof or inside. That's kind of cool too. But with parking garages, at least for the inside, you have to be careful because of that light. It might be hitting the vehicle, and that might not allow for that great of being able to do the light painting itself. So just think about that. People's driveways, if they have a really nice house, that's another opportunity there. Or just going far away someplace out, like in a desert, you got the nice like dry rock bed. That's kind of cool, getting that done with a nice backdrop of mountains or something. I know, just look around, right? Like, go to Google, do some searches, look at what other photographers have done, get some inspiration. Or if you already have been around your city, then great. Use those opportunities of places you've already been to kind of try it out and see if you can make your light painting approach work there in those conditions. So once you've figured out the location and you know where you want to shoot at, next thing, I can't stress enough, wash your car. Get it nice and detailed, because you know what? You want to make sure you save yourself the trouble of having to edit out anything in Photoshop. Get it clean so there's no dirt and debris. Make sure the rims are nice and polished and clean so that when you're lighting it, you're not seeing anything there that you have to, remove it later in post. Just get it clean, inside and outside, so just get a full detail on it. The day of the shoot or the day prior to the shoot, try not to drive it. Only try to drive it to the shoot. That way it's as clean as possible to save yourself back in time in post-production. And then as far as equipment goes, the main thing is definitely, obviously, camera, tripod. You have to be on a nice, sturdy, professional tripod. I mean, it doesn't have to be thousands of dollars, but just a sturdy tripod that cannot let that camera move. The way to make this process work and give us the ability back in Photoshop to blend this together is so that camera is not moving. It's still. Every frame we take is the exact same frame. The only thing that's different is the lighting passes that we're doing, right? So make sure you get a sturdy tripod, good camera. That's the bare essentials. And then on top of that, we need the actual light modifier, which what I'm using is a collapsible beauty dish that I open up with a diffusion on top of it, and my 8600 8300 light that I put on there with the modeling lamp to kind of add those light passes on the vehicle and get the body lines and shape and contours of what I'm shooting. So anyways, let's get into the breakdown of this, and you guys can see exactly how we're putting it all together for the equipment I'm using on site. Then we're going to go to actual shooting it on site, and then finally back in post-processing, Lightroom and Photoshop, building up the layers to create the final image for ourselves. And thanks again, everybody, for joining this video. My name is Fraser Almeida. Let's get to it. All right, so here's the light modifier I use for the light painting on the cars. I'll just show you really quick how to put it together. This is the Photix 70 Luna. So pretty much it's just collapsible. As you can see here, it folds. And all I'm gonna do is just open this up. Make sure it's nice and opened all the way. There we go. So that's nice and sturdy. And then I put the diffusion on it. Just like that. So it just gives me a little more softer quality of light, as you can see. And then I grab my light. So this is the Explorer 300 from Flashpoint, or the 8300, whatever you want to. They're both the same thing. Have a nice little like handle for it. So I just attach that to the light. There you go, as you can see. And then this has a Bowens mount attachment adapter onto it, so that easily lets me fit any of these light modifiers with this 300. So I just get it on there, snap it in,
And there you go. This is my setup, so that when I turn it on and I turn the lamp on, right? Now this is dark, so I can actually raise the brightness of the lamp. Let me see here. Here we go. That's like 10 full power. So at nighttime, that will be more than bright enough to do the light painting for the car. And as you can see, I can make my nice sweeps of light over the different parts of the car if I want to. On the bottom of this handle, there's actually another screw here. So you can put a long monopod or pole onto here if you want to get it taller for like a truck or something. But yeah, this is my go-to light for when I'm doing the light painting. So I can get nice big sweeps of light over the vehicle, some targeted stuff, and just makes it easy. So there's the light setup. And then besides that, I'm using the original Cam Ranger version 1. That still works good. This allows me to wirelessly trigger the camera and see the preview of all the photos. And I just have a dummy spare cell phone that I use to attach the Cam Ranger on here with the Cam Ranger app. I also have an iPad, which gives me a bigger preview. But you know, I've been doing this so long now that just a decent preview on a phone is good enough. I don't need to have a whole iPad on me. But if you want to, you can. But yeah, that's my setup. So cell phone, Cam Ranger version 1, and then the beauty dish with the 300 watt light, and pretty much using the modeling lamp to keep it on to get that nice like light painting effect on the vehicle.
All right, so with the main equipment out of the way and you guys get an understanding of what I'm using, let's go ahead and jump into the actual shooting process on site as I'm actually lighting the vehicle and making those light sweeps and passes to get the frames that I need to take back into post to build this image up for myself. All right, guys, so here we are at the scene. This is a beautiful location up high overlooking the Vegas Valley. I want you guys to pay attention. Number one, look at the distance between the camera and the actual car itself. So the reason why I have it that far away is because I want to eliminate any kind of distortion. So by stepping back and zooming in, I think I'm at 84 millimeters on this. So I'm shooting at probably my 24-105 lens. At 84 millimeters, it avoids any kind of distortion and it accurately represents the vehicle, right? You'll see in a second the actual images that each time I'm shooting, it's capturing. But I just want you guys to, number one, pay attention to that, how far I am away from the actual car itself. Like I'm not zoomed in with the wide angle lens to make the car look distorted. I'm actually stepping far back so I can zoom in and get that nice composition where the car looks nice and not distorted. It doesn't look wonky or whatnot. It looks like what you would see in real life. So let's keep going. So right now I'm getting what's I would say my base layer. This has nothing, no lighting, nothing at all, right? As you can see, it's completely black. There's no additional lighting besides the lighting in the background for the city, but the car itself is black. And the reason why I want that is because I want to be the one to add the light and build this image up the way I see it in my head. I don't want any other light affecting the vehicle. So by shooting at nighttime, I'm able to have a dark frame. And then anytime I'm adding light, those are my intentional light passes that I'm adding that I'm going to put eventually back in Photoshop to build this image up. So anyway, as you can see here, we are at ISO 160. I'm at f8 and 10 seconds. Now, the only value here that will never change to this whole entire process is the f-stop. So at f8, to me, that's a sharp enough image that gives me the detail that I want on the vehicle. That will never change because if I change that, then things aren't going to line up. You'll get some weird misalignment issues, and it might be funky. So, but the other two values here, I can change if I need to. I can change the ISO if I want, and I can also change the shutter. So if I need brighter images or darker images, those other two values I can change moving forward to get the type of quality of light I'm looking for on the vehicle. So let's keep going. So now you can see I'm holding that light modifier. I'm looking at my phone. What the phone, that Cam Ranger preview is doing. I wish I screen recorded it at the time, but I didn't. But I'm actually able to see myself walking in real time to the car. So by me seeing myself, I can see, okay, where do I need to be with the light so that I am not going to be in the frame. And as long as I continue to walk at a steady pace, I will be invincible. Invisible. I'm sorry, invincible. I wish I was invincible. But anyway, I'll be invisible because I'm just, it's a blur. That motion with that long shutter makes me a blur, and all you see is just the light itself. So pay attention to that when you guys are actually doing this on site. Do a couple tests to make sure that you can clear yourself or step in a way that you're not being captured in the frame for each of these individual light sweeps. So let's keep going here. And pretty much, like, my whole goal is to go either this way to the right and left, or to the right this way, right? So either left to right or right to left, but I pretty much just want to have a full sweep of the motion of light from my light modifier onto the vehicle. So we'll take a look here. I'm about to hit the shutter, and you'll see me kind of walking and creating that light. Here we go. So I'm just taking those 10 seconds to add that streak of light, which you'll see here in a second. There we go. Okay, so there's our first light pass. As you can see, the top of it, right, that big white area, that's the actual light modifier. That is what's being shown in the frame. But don't worry about that. This is all each of these individual frames, we're using only bits and pieces of it. So that huge white area, you're not even going to see that in the final image. And if you notice, because I kept continuing to walk, you don't see me there in front of the vehicle. Only because I stopped to the left or to the right for just a quick second, you see a little bit of my feet. But that's okay, because we're not using any of that. We're just using the light painted areas that we're going to blend into the vehicle. So let's keep going. Actually, you can see here I changed my value. I actually went up to 250 because I wanted a little bit more power from the light itself. So I'm doing another sweep here. Same thing. Just kind of going left to right on the vehicle and letting that light hit the vehicle itself. There we go. So here's another 10 seconds that we used to capture that. So just like before, left to right, we don't care about what's there, that white streak above, because we're not going to use any of that. We just care what's happening to the vehicle itself. All right, moving forward. Now, looks like I am lighting just the front where the grill is at and the hood. Just trying to get some light and detail onto the body lines of the car there. There we go. As you can see, the side of the car is still dark, and we're just adding light to the front. So these are just different frames and elements that I can use back in Photoshop to blend if I like this quality of light or if I don't like it. It's just giving me options. Here, as you can see, I actually dropped the ISO down. I went down to 160, maybe because it was too bright in the preview when I was looking at it with the phone and the Cam Ranger. So let's keep going. Yeah, I'm just pretty much looking at the preview. Here I go again. Probably, I think I did another pass again, but this time I raised the ISO just to get a brighter image. So let's see what this one looks like. Yeah, a little bit brighter, so I went up to 250. Another 10 seconds, easy. Here we go again. This time, what am I getting here? Let's see. Okay, so I'm actually stepping further away from the car because I just want the whole side of the car lit. I'm not trying to get it very bright, but I just want illumination on the car. So if you look here, you see how you can see the body lines of the natural body lines of the car. There is that hot spot there, but I don't care about that. I'm gonna remove that later. But just to get some illumination on the car itself. So by stepping further back, we're not getting those crazy hot spots from the light modifier onto the vehicle, but we are adding illumination to the car. So here I'm Same, I'm at ISO 250, 10 seconds. So let's keep going. And you know, every time I'm taking a picture, I'm looking at that preview on the phone. So let's see what else I got going here. Probably just another pass just to compare the difference. Let's see. Yeah, so this one's a little bit brighter. So I went to 640. You see, I wanted a little bit more of a brighter exposure on the vehicle. So I just raised up the ISO so that it raised the exposure for that light onto the vehicle. All right, let's keep going. Okay, so let's see here. I think I'm looking for another body line for the top part of the vehicle. So just slowly adding that light to the car. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, very similar to the beginning, but I think, you know, sometimes I don't mind doing same things because it could be the angle of the light modifier or whatever. It can produce different type of results. So just trying different things. There's no science to it. Let's keep going. All right, so now I'm to the back of the car. So what I want is some backlighting. So same thing. We're adding light to the rear of the vehicle, away from the camera, just to add some accent lighting, rim lighting to the actual vehicle. So let's see what that turned out like. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So as you can see, that backlighting gives it that cool effect, right? I can add that in there, and like I said, we don't care about that big white streak up top. That's going to be disappeared. We just care about the quality of light that's hitting the body lines of the vehicle itself. So here I'm at 250, still at 10 seconds. Let's keep going. Now I'm just doing the rims, so no need to walk. I can just hold the light in one spot, and I'm just doing an exposure for each wheel. So let's see what that turned out like. All right, so that's ISO 250, 10 seconds. There you go. That's the rear wheel. Now we'll do the front wheel here. Very easy, no need to walk, just hold it, right? Just hold it until the camera gets its shot. Same thing, 250, 10 seconds. And by the way, something to think about, when you guys are actually, you know, positioning the car and turning the wheel and getting it dialed in, what I like to do is have the wheel, the driver wheel, turned so it's flush with the camera lens, right? That way you get the beautiful wheel. Because if you don't do that, you get a lot of tread, and you know, tread can be ugly. Sometimes tread can be beautiful. But if the wheel is the highlight, then turn that wheel so that it's flush with the camera. That way it's a feature you can really show off. On this vehicle, I really like the calipers. They were blue calipers, so I wanted to make sure that by turning the wheel, I get the full detail of that BMW rim. So just be aware of that when you guys are, you know, composing and whatnot. Try turning the wheel towards the lens. That way you get the full look of it rather than seeing so much tread. That's a creative decision. I like doing that. You may not like that, but to me, I like that look for my images. So anyway, just my opinion. You guys can use it or not. Let's keep going. All right, so moving forward here now, what do we got going on? Okay, I think those are pretty much the main light passes for the vehicle. Now, I want to start adding the ambient lighting that the vehicle has and capturing that. So, pretty much what I'm probably going to do is, just with my remote, turn on the lights and take a bracket of that so I have it. So, let's see what that looks like. And, you know, there's different types of light. We have the headlights, we have the parking lights, the brake lights, we have the door lights, and we have the interior lighting, right? Like, I want everything, and I want detail. I don't need it to be bright. I just want detail. So you see right there, it was just enough detail that I can see some information that it's being illuminated. So we'll do another pass here. This time, let's see, what am I going to turn on? Oh yeah, so I already had shot it, but as you can see, it was just a little bit more of a brighter headlight. Now I'm going in, and if I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the fog lights as well. So let's see what that looks like, and turn the vehicle on so that way it's all possible lights are running. So let's see what that looks like. Yep, so there's the fog light, so I have that on. Shut the door, and then we'll get a bracket of that. And even though you're seeing individual frames here, that's my favorite frame of the bracket. So on these ones, I'm doing a bracket because then I can pick and choose if I want a brighter look or a darker look where it's just a small little highlight. See, like here. Here, I just want illumination, but I don't want it to be like crazy blown out and very bright. I just want illumination because I don't want to take away from, once this image is done, that the light is distracting and taking away from the car. So I just want information in the highlights like we see here. So let's keep going. Here, as you can see, we're at ISO 160, and we actually are changing the shutter now. You see, like, because of how bright these lights are, now I'm going faster to make sure that I'm not blowing out the images. So here I'm at 1/110th of a second. And let's see here. So what I did here was I turned on the interior lights. So I just have the dome light on so I can get some detail onto the seat. So I can add that back in Photoshop as well. So I'm just waiting for the door light to shut off. There we go. And I should take my bracket and get an exposure for just the interior lights. All right, and that is it. As you can see, we have just an exposure for the interior light. Here, I did change my value because it needed a lot more time to get that information. So I'm at ISO 160 and 8 seconds here. So just enough to get some illumination into those seats on the interior so I can bring that back into Photoshop. So that's it. That's our process on actual shooting on site. Let's jump into editing now. All right, so here we are in Lightroom, and I just want to show you guys really quickly the frames that we're using here. Now, there was actually a lot more frames here that you're not seeing. If I take off these stars here, you can see there's on the bottom a lot more different passes and stuff that I shot, but I'm just, you know, to save time, we don't need to go over all that. Let's just look at the main ones that I use for my edit. So which are these ones here. Now this one, I got to the location a little bit early, and I just took an ambient bracket or ambient photo of the composition just so I can make sure that visually it's the perspective and angle that I like. And then after that, once it got darker, then we got started with our base layer, which is right here, right? So pretty much the background is nice and dark. The car is completely in darkness. There's no detail there except for small little highlights, but that's not that big of a deal. And then moving on, we got our light passes here. So here's one. Here's our second. Our third, getting the side of the body. Here's another one. Some light streaks onto the body itself. Some more here. Different passes up top. Here's that shot from behind the car, getting it kind of like a backlight effect. These are the wheels. So this is the rear wheel. This is the front wheel. And then we got our lights, the vehicle lights, like the headlights and parking lights, brake lights. Another exposure of that where it's a little bit brighter. Same thing here. Another exposure where I have the headlights on and it's a little bit brighter, getting some detail. And then our last one here, which is just the interior of the vehicle. So I get some illumination and detail onto the seats and dash and whatnot on the inside. And then this is our finished image here, which we're going to get to now. So let's take a look at how I built this up in Photoshop. So before we get started, let me just show you the approach of how I individually paint these layers on. So that way we're not wasting time and doing that for every single layer. Let me show you the technique. And once you guys kind of get a grasp of that, just remember that that same technique is what I'm doing for each of these layers moving forward to build up all these different light passes onto the vehicle. So as an example, here we are. This is our base layer, remember, that we talked about. There's no information on the car as far as lighting goes. So the first thing I'm going to do is, let's say I want to add here, the front, right? The front of this car. So all I'm going to do is the normal layer here, I'm going to change it to lighten. And what that's going to say is any pixels that's brighter than the layer underneath, it's going to show on this layer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a black mask. I'm going to hold Option or Alt, click this button, and make a black mask so it's invisible. Then all I'm going to do is grab my brush, make sure I'm on white, and as far as size goes, just a decent size, something you can work with. I'm just going to go in here and just paint just the areas that I want that light, and that's it on the vehicle. See that? It's not introducing light anywhere else. If the pixels are dark, it's not going to bring that in. It's just going to bring only the light pixels, and that's it. If I go too much or whatever, I can clean it up. You see, I can hold the black button and kind of clean that up. Now, the reason why you can kind of see here, it's kind of like making the background look white, is because somehow or some way I must have raised the exposure maybe in post-processing, but that's okay. There's an easy way to fix that. So if we, for instance, add this light, let's just say we're happy with that, right? But we're like, okay, now we don't like that background there, the way that looks. All I need to do is come here, add a levels on top of this layer, and I'm going to attach it by hitting this button here. And all I'm going to do on the levels is just bring in the left side here, and it's going to, you see, take out that blackness there. I can make it brighter here if I want. If I really want to go brighter, but I don't, I like that. I just want to take out that blackness right there. So by just doing that, I can just keep it like that. Or let's see, maybe we can go with the center. Yeah, maybe even with the center. So I'm not crushing the black so much. Maybe I'll just do the midtones here, and I'll just kind of do that. And you see there, it kind of cleans that up. And there you go. That's kind of like my first pass here for just the lights here. Now, let's say I want to keep adding, right? So we have another pass here. So same thing. I'm going to add a black mask here. Make that invisible. Make sure I'm not on normal. I'm on lighten. Grab my brush, and I'm just going to do the same thing. Paint on where I want the light to hit the car. Now, as you can see, I'm showing that top area, right? Which I don't want. It's okay. We can easily fix that later. I'm just adding light to areas of the car to get some illumination, adding in those highlights. And then if there's something I see that I don't like, which is like that top part, I'm going to just change the brush to black and just paint that out. Simple. I could be more precise if I want to, or just easily paint it out like this, right? And that's how we pretty much build this car up one by one until we're happy with the final result. So let's get these out of the way. So now that you kind of get the technique as to how we're building these up, each of these layers are on lighten mode, so that way the brighter pixels are showing, and then eventually we put the brush on white and add a black mask and just paint the areas we want one by one until we're happy with the result. Like, let's say here, we don't like the windows. If I wanted to, like I said, I can put it on a black mask and or put it on a black blush and take it out. You see? I can just kind of be more targeted. I can use a pen tool if I wanted to and take it out, or I can use a brush if I feel like I'm accurate with it and just take out, like, let's say the windows, right? Like maybe we don't want it on the windows or whatever, which is fine. We can do that. See? So I can take it out there, or if I want to put it back on the windows, I can. So anyway, we have full control to build this up the exact way that we want. So let's go ahead and delete these example layers here and get to the actual buildup. So as I said, this is our base layer here. And then let's go to our light painting layers and build this up one by one. So we'll start with here. Here's that front, right? I like the way the front of the grill looks, and I like the way the ground looks. See, it's creating like this nice vignette for the actual ground of where the car is sitting at. So that's before and after. And just like we did before, just painting that on. Next, let's keep going. Here, this was for the, I think the background. I think I didn't like something in the background. Yeah, if you see here, if I hold this, you see I'm just painting in that area. So that's showing something that I didn't like in the background. There must have been maybe a cloud or darkness that I like this better. So anyway, that's what I brought in there. Moving on, here's that light pass here. So adding that, same thing, just making sure the layer's on lighting mode with the mask and just brushing that in. Here I added a levels to it just to kind of constrain that light so it's not bleeding on the outside of the vehicle. Next, here's the front fender over there where the wheel's at, adding some detail there. I like the way that looks, and it's adding some light onto the headlights and some nice body lines here for the front fender. Let's keep going. Here's that light on the back, right? The back light. Adding that there to the body of the hood, and I like the way it's hitting the glass there and the roof. As you can see, we are getting some of that bleed onto the background, but we easily fix that by adding a levels and just darkening that. So there you go, that's disappeared. And moving forward, here's our wheels. Remember, we did that. And here, I wanted it just a little bit brighter, so same thing, I added a levels to just raise up the exposure. Here's the front wheel, and same thing there. I wanted it a little bit brighter, so just use the levels to do that same thing. Next, here's the body line. Remember, this one is just stepping further away from the vehicle to just add some definition to the body lines. So just bringing in that layer there, and same thing, light and blend mode here, and then adding a levels to it. This one, I think I just wanted a little bit darker. I wanted more definition in those lines. So instead of going brighter, I just added a little bit more contrast to get that definition. Next here. This is very subtle, but the brake calipers, I wanted to get some more detail in there. So you could barely see it, but that's before and after. Just adding some more definition into the brake calipers there. And here, I just continued the line of the light pass here on the glass. Now, this is like when I first start, I may or may not use that light. Like I said, this is a trial and error until we're happy with it. And then we just keep building it up until we get to the image that we want. So moving forward, that's our main light passes for the vehicle. So then next, here, now I'm adding the light to the actual lights of the vehicle. So remember, we did the headlights. So here's the headlights here and the brake lights. We added that. And same thing here. I'm using that exact same blend mode, lighten. Here's our next layer here. Here's the headlights on, but remember, I wanted a frame where I just get detail in the headlights, but I don't want it to be very bright. I want all the attention on the car, not the illumination of the headlights itself. So that's before and after. See how much control we have to get this exactly the way we want. Here are like the parking lights, you see, before and after, and a little bit more illumination onto the headlight, the lower part of it. Now here, I took out that light streak here on the windows. I didn't like the way that looked. So pretty much what I did is I just brought in another layer where it's just a clean image. So if we look at this here, you see I took that layer to bring in that clean image where there is no light streak onto the windows. And then that allows me to add my windows of the light hitting the actual vehicle, the seats and whatnot on the dash and interior. And then we have another one here. This is a nice little accent to the side view mirrors here. So just adding that little light in that. And then I added a levels to that just to kind of brighten it up. So just a little hot spot there just to show some shape onto the actual side mirrors there. So there's our actual vehicle lighting for the interior and for the brake lights and headlights and fog lights. And then the next thing I'm doing here is just fixing any kind of blemishes. So just kind of going around, cleaning up stuff. Like you see, I don't like, because of the way the light, when I was hitting it, the side mirror was throwing a shadow here. And I didn't like that streak, right? That, what else am I cleaning here? Let's see. So all these areas are things that I just didn't like the way it looked in the image. So it's very subtle, but it's enough that it makes a difference. You see, look at these like little small highlights and stuff from the city reflecting onto the car. I just kind of cleaned that stuff up. This little spill of blue here, I don't know where that's coming from. So, right, just doing a quick little pass to kind of clean up those blemishes. Let's see, we have another one here. Actually, don't even know what I use this layer for. Probably nothing, but it's okay. Moving forward. Color, so let's go here. Here, I'm just using the curves layer to make sure that the color looks to what I think the vehicle is supposed to be. So adding color, here's a linear contrast. So this is a favorite little tool I like to do, which is, it just adds a little pop. So when you get a new, so here, let's just go ahead and delete this. There we go. And then we'll make a new one, go to curves, there we go. And then we're just gonna come up here to preset and hit linear contrast. There you go. That little small S curve gives a nice little pop to the image. So if I take that off and on, it just makes it pop. I like that. Adding some micro contrast to those areas. Here, I'm just raising the exposure with the curves just to bring in some more brightness as a whole to the entire image. And then here, I didn't like that the background was getting brighter, so I just darkened that background. So I selected just the background, so it's only being affected. And then I just darkened it. So that's it. I just brought, actually, I didn't darken it. I actually brought another layer that I had an exposure for that, which was darker, and that's what I used. So I put a mask on that, so it's only affecting the background. And then here we have another spot removal. So I'm going around. There's some more blemishes. You know, blemishes is something that you'll continuously see as you're editing. So I made another pass. Little things I keep noticing that I didn't like on the ground, on the vehicle and whatnot. So just cleaning that up. And then one more time, I want it to be a little bit brighter. So I made a selection for just this area here. I like the darkness for the vehicle, and I just wanted to brighten up everything else. So that looks pretty good. So if I take that off and on, that looks good. And then lastly, final, I did a stamp layer and just went over everything with the spot removal or blemish removal tools like healing brush and all that kind of stuff, and just kind of went around and cleaned it up. Anyway, and that's it. That's pretty much the gist of putting this whole thing together from the bottom up with all the layers and light passes that we did on site for this vehicle. So let's go back into Lightroom. Once that's saved, and the only other thing I did was to make a couple little changes. So it was a little bit still dark. I mean, a little bit too bright. So I dropped the exposure down a little bit, opened up, dropped the highlights down a little bit, added some blacks, added some clarity 15. And then the other thing I did here was crop it. It was way too much vertical height. So I just went to a 16:9 ratio. Love that ratio to crop the image. And that's it. This is our final image of the vehicle that we put together. So you guys get to see the whole process of on-site, how I shot it, back at the computer in Lightroom in Photoshop, and then building it up, and then the final polished little tweaks in Lightroom to finish this up and deliver it for myself or for a client if I choose to. All right, guys, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like I said, I love photographing vehicles. It's another thing. It's a creative outlet for me to express my creativity. And you know what, whether I'm doing it for myself or for a client, it's always something that I truly enjoy. And I hope you guys can try to do this for yourself and find the love and creativity in this as well. It's just one of those things that it's like a personal project that, you know, helps to just keep my creative juices flowing so I'm not burnt out, whether in my career or just daily life. Just letting me flow, letting me be artistic, and allowing me to just experiment and have fun. You know what? I'll do that every day if I could. If you have any questions on anything that we talked about, leave it in the comments below. I will answer all your questions and comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe, guys. It really helps the channel. And thanks again, everybody, for joining me on this video. And remember, keep on shooting. I'll see you next time.